Hey there, fellas. Check this out, I've got a car right here. We got access to the engine from all around. And we can quite literally see everything, which is good. Here's what we have in mind. As you all know, engine mounts often fail. That's because they are under some serious stress. How serious? Well, not many people really know. But in this video, let's make a lodgement and secure the engine not with the help of engine mounts, but coil springs instead, to see what goes on with it during rapid acceleration and abrupt braking. Let's go. Slava, wait. 1 meter's worth of extensions? Undoing that nut is not convenient. Okay, we've removed the engine from that car, and what we want to do is bring the engine up higher compared to the factory position. We've cut out everything we don't need, and are now making some improvised brackets to get everything mounted. Okay, we've got the engine more or less where we want it positioned. And from here, the idea is to fit the springs so that they're as relaxed as possible. For this one on this side to be touching the engine right here. Now we just need to make the brackets for them. We'll use this sort of pipe, trim to the correct size, to keep them on center. Then we weld the mounts to the car, and make some brackets to tie the springs to the engine. If we want to bring the springs closer to the engine, this cover we can remove, but there's also a cooling hose, an alternator, thermostat. I'm not sure it's a good idea, because most of it is going to be hidden as a result. And what we want to show is how everything works, so I'd prefer it to go right here. But that in turn means extending and lowering the bracket. Also, preferably, we'd want the spring to be straight and not bend around. Otherwise, it might pop out. Getting this to work right is going to take a bit of thought. The springs are at different angles. It's trying to get two identical springs to assume different angles. Of course it's going to slump to one side. We continue to try and bring this idea to life, and there are a bunch of problems we've yet to solve. Among them is, well, we want the engine to be on center, and by extension the prop shaft, as well as all of the associated components. Another problem is that the springs are going to compress, and so welding everything up while they're loose is going to result in the entire assembly assuming the wrong position and working incorrectly. As a result, we're touching up a bunch of welds, trimming here and there, tearing it down, reassembling, adjusting. Now we begin work on our third fulcrum point. That would be the transmission mount, which will also be sprung. the spring we're going to trim. We don't want it to be positioned too low. Right, let's cut it and begin fitting it to the car. Okay guys, you'll see that we've brought the engine up together with the gearbox, and now we've got a spring-mounted powertrain. Allow me to show you something. Isn't that lovely? These are essentially engine mounts, but with a twist. So far this is going superbly, and so now I suggest we fit the prop shaft and all of that jazz, and do some spirited driving. To see which way the engine wants to move. I expect it to be all over the place. Why don't you pause the video and tell us what you think? In the meantime, we're gonna carry on. Since we've moved the engine forward, that means the stock prop shaft is now too short, but we're going to extend it. Once we do, the car can move on its own. Alright, check it out, we finalized our Springy setup. All of it is good, and now let's see what sort of stresses the engine mounts endure, how the engine is gonna behave. Okay, it runs. Now it doesn't. I think it's time to step away. I'm gonna get out of the way. All right, excellent. So here's what I'm seeing. When the rev count is stable, and the engine isn't misfiring, well then it sits in place. The mounts are barely under any stress. But now we can clearly see that the engine is misfiring, and wobbling as a result. When it's not misfiring, the rotating assembly gets up to a certain rotational speed and, assuming we're not working the gas pedal, at that point, it's not transferring any energy from the engine block to the mounts. But as soon as you hit the gas, more fuel is going to be fed, you're going to get a bigger bang. Now the rotating assembly is speeding up. That torque is going to be transmitted to the engine, the gearbox and all of that, resulting in the engine doing this sort of dance, wobbling around. We've all seen it a bunch of times in movies and also in real life. When you have a car sitting in place that's running a gigantic engine, with a massive crankshaft, flywheel and so on, the driver smashes the gas and the entire car starts shaking around. The torque is transferred to the engine block, which in turn shakes the car. What that looks like, well, something like this. Check this out. The torque is making the engine shift to the side. Look at this. You see that? Right, let's try driving around. At least a tiny bit, to see how it's going to lean. Look at the load, I mean. It does have to get the entire driveline to turn. Let me try driving forward.
О! Так. Ой-ой-ой-ой-ой-ой.
But what if... This is me braking with the box in gear. Alright, we've driven around inside the garage. Now it's time to go outside and see what happens to the engine on the move. Let's go. It is nice and chilly outside. So on top of the springy engine mounts being under stress because of the engine moving around, also the car itself is shaking. Despite the suspension somewhat ironing out the imperfections in the road, a lot of it is still being transmitted to the engine. To the engine mounts, rather. Look at how it's shaking while I am driving over this bumpy road. Car is jumping up and down. And all of that motion is being transferred to those mounts. I am not warm in here by any means. No big deal, though. Look at how it's jumping around. Let me try going a little bit faster. Look at it jumping around, my oh my. Looks like it wants to jump out of the engine bay. Holy cow. That shook me up good. So I was just driving over a severely bumpy road at full throttle. Stress levels were very high. Engine was moving back and forth, twisting, turning together with the car. Nonetheless, the engine is staying connected to the springs. And it's not just connected, it's also maintaining a nice balance in between them. And none of the engine's vibration is being transmitted to the body. Like, literally none. I can only hear it. You don't have that sensation like in a normal car when you start the engine. And you can feel with your back that it's running. In this case, you don't get any of that. You hear it and that's it. You don't feel any of the vibrations coming from the engine. Right, so this one went rather well, I'd say. This is very much a functional design. To be honest with you, I expected it to fall apart completely. But as a matter of fact, this went very well. The springs are robust, and they must have secured them well. But the dance the engine was doing inside the bay was hectic, I mean, in our improvised bay, of course. And after watching that dance, an idea occurred to us. Let's try and get it to dance on the floor. Let's go. I'd say we're good to go. We should fit a seat to it. This is how it's going to be placed on the dance floor. The whole thing is sprung, it's nice and soft. That's all looking good. Okay, let's fire it up and see what happens. Let's go. It's begun to move around. Those springs do a good job with, the way they soften the vibration is just, it is amazing. So the engine mount bracket acts as a sort of guide, like a cylinder. Yeah, like a damper. The spring itself works as one. From a technical standpoint, if you were to fit the engine to a generator assembly and suspend it on long springs like these that are for a car, they're the best kind of mounts. Best way to silence an engine. Right, guys, the intention here was to get it to dance and jump around. But here's the thing. These springs did a terrific job both here and in the car. They were superb. They canceled out the vibration and all of the motion to such an extent that, well, it would have been hard to imagine them performing the way they did. We were used to them performing their usual function, but yeah, they do their job with 107% effectiveness. At first, we were keeping our distance, expecting things to fall apart and the engine to abandon ship. But the fact of the matter is, this went very well, amazingly enough. You guys saw it all for yourselves. And that's it for this video. Catch you guys later.